Okay, welcome back. We've got about 15 minutes left in this second Ready Colorado gubernatorial candidate town hall with businessman Victor Mitchell. Ready Colorado, in case I haven't mentioned enough, is Colorado's conservative voice for education reform. And by the way, Victor's website, if you want to learn more about Victor, about his candidacy, about his family, about his story, vic4gov.com, VIC, the number 4, GOV.com. Before I bring callers on, I have one quick sort of lightning round question for you, perhaps, to get this started. Campaign finance limits. You're in an interesting situation because you are able, like the maybe presumptive frontrunner on the Democratic side and a couple others, to put some of your own money into this race. We have very low campaign finance limits here in Colorado that give some advantage in a way to a self-funder like you. Do you believe that campaign finance limits in Colorado should be raised?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that if we can keep more outside money out of politics, I think it's better for everyone.
I just need to follow up on that.
There's no shortage of money flowing into these campaigns. Let me tell you, there might be a campaign finance law, but there's of course the 501c3s and there's the 529s, and they're raising unlimited amounts of money.
Wouldn't it be better if people like me could give more than $1,000 or $400, depending on the race, to a candidate that we liked in the state? Wouldn't that tend to diminish the need for outside money?
I mean, maybe, possibly, but it's $1,150 is what you can donate. I think that's a good number. I mean, I don't think you can buy a significant amount of influence with $1,150. We've got to we've got to start electing people that actually come from the outside, that are not indebted to all these unions. When I was in all these indebted special interest groups, we have too many lobbyists, too many people that are controlling, where people stand on issues. We've got to we need a lot more independence in our process.
All right, so now we're going to bring in as many calls as we can. We're going to start with Ronald in Denver. Hey, Ronald, what is your question for Victor Mitchell?
My question is, what is he going to do about the unemployment rate for disabled people in this state?
Thank you, Ronald. Let's hear Victor Mitchell's answer.
Well, I'm going to get rid of a great deal of regulations, and I want to help. My mother is 90% blind and deaf. So I have a great empathy for disabled people. And my mother actually works in a program that runs a coffee shop. It's almost the equivalent of like a coffee shop. These types of innovative kind of progressive programs have actually been quite effective. And we should look at that across other states, the way they have done that. But we absolutely need to pay attention to our disabled, and we want to get you into the workforce, preferably running your own business.
Let's grab some calls now from those dialing in. And again, we'll get as many as you can. If you have a question for Victor Mitchell, *3. Let's go to Lori in Fremont County. Hey, Lori, what is your question for Victor Mitchell? Lori, you with me? All right. Lori wanted to ask you, Victor, if you become governor, what would you do about legalized marijuana?
Well, marijuana is already legalized,
yes.
Of course. Amendment 64 I was not a big fan of. But first and foremost, we need a lot more transparency, accountability, and public scrutiny with all the revenues coming into the state, which have been totally ripped off and promised to so many school districts. So I believe we should have a website in real time where this money's coming in and where it's going out. I also think the next governor should be very aggressive and lead a public awareness campaign on recreational marijuana. Recreational marijuana is nothing like alcohol. THC stays in your system much longer. So I think that it'll be a combination of basically making sure the revenue is coming in and going out, as well as leading an aggressive public awareness campaign of the serious dangers of overuse of recreational marijuana.
Now, let me throw in one of my own questions again. We've seen a massive expansion of Medicaid under this governor following Obamacare,
no question.
Right?
Huge.
Just unbelievable numbers. About a quarter of Colorado is on Medicaid now, about 1.3 million people, and about 400,000 of them were added under John Hickenlooper. What is your take on the proper direction for health care in the state of Colorado? So I realize that might call for a longer answer than I want, but do what you can on a short answer.
I'll try to keep it brief and concise. I think Colorado needs to get out of the Medicaid expansion. We've had a $640 million expansion in Medicaid. We need to get out of the exchange entirely, the Unaffordable Care Act. My plan is to provide block grants effectively to nurse practitioner, physician assistants, mental health clinic providers, where basically any Coloradan can access high-quality primary care without the need for insurance. There's models that have been done around the country, been worked very effectively. There's one in particular in Southern Virginia, where they don't take any insurance whatsoever, and they're using telemedicine. They're providing specialty care through telemedicine, but primarily primary care. And the quality of their care is second to none. They charge $10 for a visit, $4 for a prescription drug voucher. Make no mistake about it, Medicaid is a failure in Colorado. 85% of docs won't accept it. It's a ration care. It's low-quality care. And we can do much better. We have a different set of health issues facing our state. We're the healthiest state in the country. We need solutions that work for our people of Colorado.
Let me ask folks very quickly a third poll question. This is, do you plan on voting in upcoming school board elections wherever you live? Press 1 for yes, 2 for no, 3 if you're not sure, and let us go back to our phone lines, and hopefully we'll have a little better luck this time. We're going to try for Pierce. Hey, Pierce, are you with us?
Here I am.
Hey, excellent. What's your question for Victor?
I want to know what his attitude toward capital punishment and his attitude toward gun control.
Thank you very much, Pierce. Listen right now for your answer to those two things. Capital punishment and gun control.
Absolutely. I'll start with gun control. I'm a big, strong believer in the Second Amendment. I have an A+ rating with the NRA. I've been a former gun owner myself. My son's in the military. I don't think you'd find somebody that's a stronger advocate for Second Amendment rights. With respect to the other thing he brought up, which was the capital punishment, I believe in the death penalty. I think the death penalty should not be politicized. It should be a combination of meeting with the victims. It can act as a deterrent, and is the person unequivocally guilty. That should be the three standards you look to before you give somebody the ultimate punishment.
And we know what Governor Hickenlooper did with the Chuck E. Cheese killer. If that came to your desk, would you then sign the warrant to give him the punishment that court after court has said he gets?
It certainly appears that he meets all the requirements, so the likely answer would be yes. But you know, this is a life and death issue. It should be taken very seriously and not be some kind of a political hot potato. But most likely, the answer would be yes.
I think Eric wants to ask you a quick follow-up on a question I asked you. Eric, go ahead with your question for Victor Mitchell.
Hi there. Hi, Victor.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing great tonight.
Anyway, my question is, sorry about that. My question is, would you fight campaigns to roll back or restrict marijuana freedoms in Colorado?
Absolutely not. I mean, the voters have spoken. Unlike Democrats, I think that
let's make sure we understand the question, because there were a lot of negatives in that question. So let me reword Eric's question.
Sure.
Would you support adding restrictions on marijuana in the state of Colorado?
Possibly in the recreational use, but not repealing Amendment 64. The voters have spoken. It's embedded in our Constitution. It's a constitutional right. Unlike Democrats, I believe you should enforce all laws evenly and equitably and not choose laws and disregard, like we have in sanctuary cities where the mayors are literally disregarding their committed oath of office. No, I don't think we should do that. I think even though I don't like Amendment 64, obviously I'm not a drug user. I have disdain for drugs. But the voters have spoken. They have a right to do that. And in fact, if the federal government comes in here, and I've been on the record about saying this, government comes in and tries to overturn Amendment 64, I would actually file a lawsuit on behalf of our state to enforce our rights.
I appreciate that. As a libertarian, I'm very much in favor of legalization, but I've never touched marijuana in my life. Just for me, it's a matter of freedom. Let's see if we can get James on the show here. And James, I know you had a range of questions, including some education stuff, but I'd like you to ask Victor your question that relates to correctional facilities.
Yeah, I had a question about restitution with regard to our Department of Corrections. Give you an example. You brought up Dunlap. At the same time, I was almost beaten to death by some juveniles, and
unbelievable.
Two of the juveniles have never paid a penny of restitution, and I've had over 134 surgeries.
Wow, jeez. God bless you.
And the Department of Corrections, is stating that they've been unable to collect anything. What about their tax returns or other avenues of collection? John Perugia.
So, just in the interest of time, James, I want to let Victor get to your question, and maybe I'll broaden it out a little bit. In addition to the specifics there, do you have specific issues in mind relating to our correctional system in the state that are things you're thinking about?
Absolutely. I've actually visited with any number of people in Fremont County. I think I've been in Fremont County 5 or 6 times, which is we have more prisons in Fremont County than anywhere else in our state. There is no question worker safety in prisons today is at an all-time low in Colorado, largely because of the Medicaid expansion. They've cut prison funding. Prison workers actually are one of the critical state workers that we don't want to have any turnover in. We want to create incentives for those workers so they'll stay and they're safe and they're secure. I actually just met with a nurse last week who works in one of the prisons in Fremont County. She says that she's scared to death every day she goes into work. So that's got to stop. With respect to your question, if a young person commits a crime and it's a serious crime, they should be treated as an adult, and we should be looking at that. They should not be getting off. But we also must, in a broader sense, we also have to do a lot more on recidivism. We have to make sure that people who are offending are getting the right training, the great opportunity, so there's not a high propensity for them to reoffend. It costs us a lot more money when we have reoffenses and they go back to prison. We have to be thinking about that much more as well.
We have just over 2 minutes left. I want to try to get in 1 or 2 more topics if possible. Lynn in Deer Trail. Hey, Lynn, you're on with Victor Mitchell. What's your question, please?
My question is, what is your stance on immigration and sanctuary cities?
Thank you, Lynn.
Well, Lynn, nice to talk to you. I don't believe in sanctuary cities, and as a governor, I can't stop places like Denver and Aurora from acting unlawfully. But what I can do as governor is I can cut off their funding, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Victor, let's see. Let me get one more quick question in here, and then I'm gonna give you a moment to close. Let's go to Marilyn. Hey, Marilyn, you're on with Victor Mitchell. Ask your question quickly, please.
Yes, Victor, I went to your website looking for your stance on pro-life or pro-choice, and just wondering if you could explain how you feel about that.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you, Marilyn. And I'm a pro-life practicing Catholic. I believe in the standard 3 exceptions, but we need to do much more. Roe v. Wade, unfortunately, is settled law. So we have to do a lot more to promote adoption and discourage abortion. And we're not doing nearly enough. There's been thousands of abortions in our state. And we have to destigmatize, debunk the whole myth of an unwanted pregnancy. Catholic Charities in particular has been very good about this. But absolutely, I'm a pro-life practicing Catholic.
So, Victor Mitchell, we have about 1 minute left. I'd like to give you that minute to make a pitch to our listeners.
Well, great. I'm the only outsider candidate. I'm the only reformer in this race. I'm the only one that actually has put very big, substantive, bold ideas forward to move our state forward. We just have too many politicians, and we have too few leaders. We have to start fixing things to make people's lives better, whether it's our infrastructure, whether it's our healthcare system, whether it's regulation so people will go out and take risks again. We've become terribly risk averse. So I have a unique set of both personal and professional and public experience. I look to earn your support. Thanks so much, Ross, for having me on tonight.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you again, Victor. Look forward to having you on my K-House show some morning soon. Thanks to all of you on the phones who listened. Again, my name's Ross Kaminsky. I host the morning show here on 630 K-House at tune in 5 to 10 weekdays. To learn more about Victor Mitchell, check out his website, vic4gov.com, VIC4gov.com. 2 weeks from now, we will have the next Ready, Colorado gubernatorial town hall. That candidate will be Doug Robinson. We'll be looking forward to that conversation as well. Thanks again to Ready, Colorado, Colorado's conservative voice for education reform, for supporting these great events.